Hey guys, I am back here again, and today I wanted to talk about a documentary that I recently watched. I find a lot of gems and things in documentaries or interviews, and I thought that I would share it with you guys. So last night I watched a documentary called The First Monday in May, and it's about the Met Gala, or more so the Met Museum, and how they get ready for the Met Gala and the new costume installation, the one really big major exhibition for that year. And this one was the China Through the Looking Glass, which I remember the fashions from the Met Ball, and they were absolutely beautiful. But it was all about everything that goes into it, from the art to the costumes to the history of it all to Vogue and their contributions with the Met Gala, and getting people to come and giving them all kinds of things. And I learned so many things, and I just wanted to share it with you guys because I thought, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So whenever I see or watch something and I find just like little gems in it, I definitely watch. The thing that I definitely learned was that people really they say not to compare yourself to other people, which you shouldn't, but people naturally compare things. So in every day, we naturally compare if one thing is better than the other. Even when we go to the grocery store, is this line better than this line? We're always naturally comparing things, but they were talking about in the movie about how when Alexander McQueen passed away and they did an exhibit for him, that every exhibit that came after that was kind of like, oh, it wasn't the Alexander McQueen. So they were trying to kind of create a moment. So the thing is that the way that we stop comparing ourselves to other people is if we create our own moments, and if we see everything as its own specific moment and not as comparing it, how was this to that, but rather everything is its own moment, it's its own thing. It doesn't need to be compared to something else. And I think that will help a lot of people out. Not comparing yourself to what you see on Instagram or anything else. It's just what you are capturing, that moment that someone has put out there, and it's a beautiful, beautiful moment, but it's not you. It's not to be compared to anything else. It's just meant to be there as a beautiful moment that they wanted to share in their life. And a second thing that I learned, which I was just kind of uncovering the whole time that I was watching it, and it was just coming to me bits and pieces the whole time I was watching it, and then when I finished watching it, it was like complete. And so I'm gonna read it directly. I wrote, "Art is a personal reflection of the past. It can only be based in history, for we cannot reflect on the future. We can only fantasize based on the past." When we're looking at creating our art, and through this I was thinking of art as anything that you use to express yourself, or anything that you use to connect to. So like they were talking about, a lot of the designers especially in this collection, that it wasn't necessarily that they had been to China and they had gotten inspiration from that, but they had gotten inspiration from the Chinese art films. I mean, not from the Chinese art films, but from the Chinese films. They had gotten inspiration to express how they felt, you know? And they decided to express how they felt through fashion, which just was a different medium. So how they received the art and how they created art were two different things. So how they expressed it and then how they received it, they're both art but together. So, and also I was looking at how they were having this kind of conversation between the I went to China, of course, to talk with some, I don't know who they were, but some people in China that are higher up, to kind of have an open conversation with them, because of course they didn't want to be offensive. So they were having open conversations, and one of the things that they were saying was that they felt like it was so past and it didn't reflect the present. But you can't reflect the present because the present is right now. So when I just said that, that is now the past. So you can only reflect on the past. So art is only a reflection of the past. And when you start going into the future and you start thinking about the future and you start fantasizing about the future, it's a fantasy based on the past, and past trajectory is the way that your future fantasy is set up. They were saying that designers would heavily fantasize the Chinese art and everything like that, and that's what art is about. It's about fantasy, and every time you go from to the Chinese art was a fantasy, and then from that Chinese art to the Chinese films, that was someone else's fantasy. And then when people looked at those films and created fashion, that was a completely other fantasy, and everyone's living in their fantasy world. So when we look at other people's art, whether it is on Instagram through through pictures or videos, or on Twitter through words, or we read a book, or we listen to a song, it is their art, and their art is a reflection of their past, of where they have been, and how they fantasize about the future. So when you're creating art in any capacity, I think that it's important to consider, and art to me is a self-expression. So this right here for me is art. What I'm doing right now is art. Writing is art, which I love writing. So that to me is art. Creating music, or even just playing music but playing it your own way, or singing or whatever, those are all art forms to me. And so whenever you're doing any of those things, you're looking at the past and you're fantasizing about the future. Those things to where you're not forgetting about now is sometimes very hard. The present without the past, and you can't have the future without the present. So it's very important to align all of those things, and while you're learning from the past and fantasizing about your future. Those are some of the things, lessons and things that I learned from watching that documentary, that I'll probably put up in the cards if I haven't done so already. It was a really good documentary, and I found myself really into documentaries and interviews, and opening myself up to learning new things all the time. So I think that I will continue to do this. As you've seen already, I'm titled this Interpretations. So these are my interpretations of specific interviews, of specific movies, of specific documentaries, and what you get from it might be different. But I think that also allowing your mind to wander as you're watching these things can help you kind of apply it to your life. So these are my interpretations of those things. And I'm so happy that you made it to the end of this video and that you're here, and I hope that you subscribe so that you can watch some more of these interpretation videos. I am really excited to share them because I'm always listening to interviews or watching documentaries now, or watching movies or something, and I always get these kind of thoughts and ideas, and now I'm writing them down for you. I already have a couple more of some interviews of some things that I just kind of grasped and I want to share. So if you are excited about that or about anything else on my channel, then be sure to go ahead and subscribe so that you can come back and you can see me all the time, and you can learn about new and different ideas, which is what it's all about. So I hope you have the most wonderful day. I'm so happy that it is spring because I love warm weather, and I will see you guys a little bit later. Bye.